like to do a salute to abortion in the break's 10th annual Salute to Abortion.
Salute to murder.
Abortion, I salute you! Women, if you need an abortion, get one! If you want an abortion, get one! If you're not pregnant but you think you eventually might be and want to order a future abortion, get one! If you're pregnant and you want to be pregnant, don't get one! It's up to you, and it doesn't have to be a big deal. It's actually a great deal. It's about $300. That's like 6 movie tickets. Movie tickets, a bad deal. And women, don't forget, you have the power to give life, and men will try to control that. Don't let them! God bless abortions, and God bless America!
Dr. James Comey drafted a conclusion apparently exonerating Hillary Clinton in the email case 2 months before the investigation was over and before the FBI interviewed Clinton aide Cheryl Mills, IT specialist Brian Pagliano, and Clinton herself. The FBI transcripts from interviews with 2 senior Comey aides are now coming to light after a records request from the Republican leaders on the Senate committee. They said it appears that in April or early May 2016, Comey had decided against criminal charges before 17 interviews were complete.
Good afternoon.
Hours after Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein announced new charges in connection to the 2016 election, Politico reported House conservatives are preparing a new push to oust Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, according to 3 conservative Capitol Hill sources, putting the finishing touches on an impeachment filing. Here's what Rosenstein said in his announcement on Friday about the indictments.
The indictment charges 12 Russian military officers by name for conspiring to interfere with the 2016 presidential election. 11 of the defendants are charged with conspiring to hack into computers, steal documents, and release those documents with the intent to interfere in the election.
For the president-elect was always planned for Friday. It hasn't been delayed. But he's taking these shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
But I'm not personally under investigation.
Those are the 3 things he asked. Yes, sir.
You know, this investigation is full of leaks left and right. I mean, we've learned more from the newspapers sometimes than we do from our open hearings, for sure. Do you ever wonder why, of all the things in this investigation, the only thing that's never been leaked is the fact that the president was not personally under investigation, despite the fact that both Democrats and Republicans and the leadership of Congress knew that and have known that for weeks?
I don't know. I find matters that are briefed to the Gang of 8 are pretty tightly held, in my experience.
Finally, who are those senior leaders at the FBI that you shared these conversations with?
As I said in response to Senator Feinstein's question, Deputy Director, my Chief of Staff, General Counsel, the Deputy Director's Chief Counsel, and then more often than not, the number 3 person at the FBI who's the Associate Deputy Director, and then quite often the head of the National Security Branch.
Senator Wyden.
Thank you.
The latest revelation on the quickly deepening FBI scandal is that FBI Director James Comey drafted Hillary Clinton's exoneration statement months before 17 prime witnesses, including Clinton herself, were even interviewed. Presidential attorney Jay Sekulow and former White House press secretary Ari Fleischer blasted Comey's lawless actions.
Although there is evidence of potential violations of the statutes regarding the handling of classified information, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case.
And that was then FBI Director James Comey announcing back in July of 2016 that the Bureau would not recommend charges for Hillary Clinton.
Justice from the Democrats. If you watched the hearing today, you saw the Democrats give a 5-hour cat bath to Peter Strzok. You had one Democrat from the state of New Jersey say that he deserved hugs and kisses. A Democrat from Rhode Island said that we needed to give Peter Strzok our apology. And one Democrat from Tennessee even said that he deserved the Purple Heart. That is incredibly offensive to the people who've gone downrange and fought for our country, who live in my district, who've been wounded in action. And it just shows the extent to which anything that could in any way be negative for Donald Trump is something the Democrats will embrace, even if that very same stuff is harmful to our country and the institutions that we all have to be able to rely on.
Good luck. House Judiciary Committee. Great to see you today, Chairman. Boy, you are right in the middle of this breaking news right now. Talk to me about this letter that has gone back with these other options that you're looking at with regard to Lisa Page.
So, Harris, it's great to be with you and your viewers, and it does appear that Lisa Page apparently has something to hide. She has been in complete defiance of cooperation with the House Judiciary Committee and the Oversight and Government Reform Committee for 7 months now, dating back to the first letter we wrote to the Department of Justice in December of last year asking for her appearance. There have been 2 subsequent letters and 2 subpoenas issued for her appearance, and she has defied all of that. Now, when she says that she has not had ample time to prepare, that is belied by those facts. In addition, our attorneys have had communications with her attorney for nearly a month now about this appearance, and her attorney agreed to accept service of the subpoena and then turned around and immediately tried to reject it. So that's why we sent the marshals to her house to serve the subpoena. They had to go back 3 times before they finally were able to reach her and serve the subpoena on her.
Mr. Comey, let me begin by thanking you for your voluntary compliance with our request to appear before this committee and assist us in this very important investigation. I want first to ask you about your conversations with the president, the 3 conversations in which you told him that he was not under investigation. The first was during your January 6th meeting, according to your testimony, in which it appears that you actually volunteered that assurance. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you limit that statement to counterintelligence investigations, or were you talking about any kind of FBI investigation?
I didn't use the term counterintelligence. I was speaking to him and briefing him about some salacious and unverified material. It was in the context of that he had a strong and defensive reaction about that not being true, and my reading of it was important for me to assure him we were not personally investigating him. And so the context then was actually narrower, focused on what I just talked to him about. But it was very important because it was first true, and second, I was very, very much about being in kind of a J. Edgar Hoover type situation. I didn't want him thinking that I was briefing him on this to sort of hang it over him in some way. I was briefing him on it because we had been told by the media it was about to launch. We don't want to be keeping that from him. And if there was he needed to know this was being said.
In fact, I knew you weren't going to answer our questions today. And I apologize for wasting so much time here because it's really not been very productive. And I asked my staff to count the number of times today you would say I can't answer that question or refuse to give an appropriate response. It's happened 74 times so far. So really, it's either one of 2 things. Either you're saying that because you want to avoid the appearance of impropriety, in which case you should have recused yourself, or you're trying to protect Hillary Clinton.
Good morning. I'm here to give you an update on the FBI's investigation of Secretary Clinton. What I want to do is tell you what we're recommending. But first, let me tell you what we found. 110 emails in 52 email chains have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it make?
8 of those chains are top secret, 36 of those chains secret, and 8 contain confidential information.
What difference at this point does it make?
Everything I did was permitted. There was no law, no regulation.
Secretary Clinton should have known that an unclassified system was no place for that conversation.
I
did not email any classified material to anyone on my email.
None of these emails should have been on any kind of classified system, not even Gmail.
Well, first of all, nothing was marked classified.
To the contrary.
Nothing was marked classified.
There is evidence.
Nothing was marked classified.
Now let me tell you what we found. 110 emails.
It was not the best choice.
52 email chains.
It was a mistake.
Have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it make?
8 of those chains were top secret.
Was the best choice.
6 of those chains.
I said it was a mistake.
8 contained confidential information.
What difference at this point does it make?
With respect to our recommendation, this is going to be an unusual statement in at least a couple of ways. Although there is evidence, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. I know there will be intense public debate. I know there will be intense public debate. I know there will be intense public debate. What difference at this point does it make? 110 emails.
It wasn't the best choice.
52 email chains.
I made a mistake.
Have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it make?
8 of those chains were top
Not a
secret.
good choice.
6 of those chains.
I said it was a mistake.
And 8 contained confidential information.
What difference at
Mr. Rosenstein, which is if the president declassified and gave a direct order to simply come clean with all things of interest to Congress's oversight on these topics, would you abide by such an order?
Yes, but we'd have to talk about, when you say all information, I think Director Wray and Director Coates would presumably consult with the president.
I'll yield
Maybe
to the
something-
caveats. I just wanted to get to the point. Then there is a way, but that may be the only way that Congress is going to get this information necessary to put this whole jigsaw puzzle together, and first have the confidence that we actually know what all went on. But just to move on, you gave the directive to Robert Mueller, and can you paraphrase to us the directive he has for that mission?
I don't want to paraphrase it, sir. I actually have in front of me a copy of the order, which assigns him to conduct a full and thorough investigation of the Russian government's efforts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election.
That's directly from the order that you've just
Yes,
read? Thank you. Now that is available to the public, and I thank you for that. And how many FISA judges are there?
Pardon me?
How many FISA judges are there?
I do not know the answer to that, sir.
And do you know how many FISA judges might have signed off on warrants relevant to this investigation? How many different judges?
You know, my understanding, there was information that was declassified, and I believe that the information declassified indicated one application renewed 3 times, so a total of 4. And I believe there were 4 different judges, but I don't know that for a fact.
Okay, but would their names be public?
Names of the judges?
Yes.
I don't know the answer. The identities of the judges.
Somebody who's been at the agency 30 years, you don't know much.
Who was in the room with Hillary Clinton on July 2nd, 2016? We now know Peter Strzok was one of them. Who else was in that room?
I only know from whatever's in the report. I have no personal knowledge.
And do you have a way of finding that information out?
Well, that's the point that I've actually tried to make to several of your colleagues. Is for something that happened before I got there and I didn't have personal involvement, I need to rely on other people to tell me the information, so I wouldn't know any more than what's in the report.
We must know that.
The time of the gentleman
has expired. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman, may I
go back?
I would respond briefly, and I recognize, Mr. King, that your time is limited.
That was recognized.
But what I want to assure you is we do think it's important for the American people to know of any wrongdoing that occurred. It's difficult for us to articulate that publicly. We rarely have time to respond publicly, but we are actually working very cooperatively with Chairman Nunes, and I respect what he's trying to do. And I think he understands that I'm trying to do the right thing. And so Director Wray and I actually have worked with him and provided classified briefings, and we're making an effort to get him all the information that we can. And I believe he knows as much as I know about these questions that he's trying to answer. And if there's anything else that he believes we don't know, believes should be known by him, we're going to look for it. So Director Wray and I are not in any way trying to conceal any kind of wrongdoing from you or for the American people.
With perspective. The second problem, of course, is Donald Trump and his abuse of power in office, his violation of the Constitution, his rhetoric, which really borders on fascist, his rhetoric about the press and his attack on Muslims and immigrants. And this is unprecedented, even in the most conservative circles of the Republican Party. And yet the Republican Party insists that anyone running for national office for the United States House or Senate be loyal to Donald Trump. And I won't be loyal to Donald Trump. I believe that he and Mike Pence really ought to be removed from office.
Nightclub in Orlando, Florida, a place of celebration for the LGBT community. Donald Trump proved that he is a terrible leader, as he's a terrible businessman. Trump proved that he's not the person to lead our nation through difficult times, or in fact, any time. Trump failed the most important of tests for a presidential candidate: how to respond in a crisis when our citizens are under attack. How do you respond? Donald Trump failed that test. Trump proved he's not the person to lead our nation through a crisis. He is not commander-in-chief material, underlined, underscored. But yesterday, so it doesn't matter what the problem has been, Trump has failed. Trump isn't the person who wants to have his finger on the nuclear button, because he's clearly incapable of that responsibility.
You know who I want to see on a witness stand in front of a grand jury? I want to see Hillary Clinton. I want to see Barack Obama. I want to see Valerie Jarrett. I want to see Sally Yates. I want to see James Clapper. I want to see Rod McCain. I want to see Admiral Mike Rogers. I want to see what is his name of the IRS? Something Lau. He was pretty chummy with Obama all the time, and I think that's part of the problem right now, is they can't figure out how to get a hold of Trump's tax returns without a grand jury, because the Democrats have hung their hat on that one. They think that there is bank fraud, wire fraud, exactly what Hillary was guilty of. They're trying to hang on Trump's. And that's what this is about, because you didn't see a grand jury for Hillary, did ya? In fact, they did some pissant fucking investigation. No one was under oath. She had her lawyers in the room under questioning. They did it in her fucking home on the 4th of July, and nobody recorded shit.
Criminals can also succeed in business and politics and can be elected as our leaders. If a criminal became the president, imagine what they could achieve. They could use the full weight of their executive power to commit much larger crimes and ensure they and their friends were enriched to the fullest extent possible. A criminal president could create alliances with other criminal presidents and then collaborate on more global criminal activities. Anything goes. Drug running, human trafficking, whatever makes the big bucks. The 20th century was turbulent with war, economic disaster, famines, and displacement. We have always accepted these things as just human nature and simply the way the world works. Something inevitable and due to the weaknesses of human nature that drive us to these actions. This is where we were all tragically wrong.
Nice to see you. Listen, I'm here to exploit this war. I'm here to exploit this war. War is good for business. Just take a look at the stock market, so I'm here to exploit it just like everybody else in this country. Best thing about this war, it's on every channel. And every channel has a slightly different war. Do you notice that? If you don't like the way it's going on Channel 2, try Channel 9. Maybe your side is winning over there. And the ratings are good. The ratings are good for the war. We like war. We're good at it. We're a warlike people. This country is only 200 years old, and we average a major war every 20 years. 200 years old, 10 wars. Do the arithmetic yourself. We are a warlike people. We are perfect children of Europe. We're fort builders, land grabbers, and bomb throwers, folks. We're not happy. We're not happy unless we're dropping bombs on some helpless civilian population that has no argument with us whatsoever. No argument with us whatsoever. We are bomb throwers. And when we're not dropping high explosives, on some small nation that only has a marginally effective air force, then we're declaring war on something at home. We love to declare war on something at home, don't we? Anything we don't like about ourselves, we have to declare war on it. We can't get rid of this war mentality from our public life. We got a war on poverty, war on crime, war on cancer, war on litter, war on drugs. Do you ever notice we don't have a war on homelessness? No war on homelessness. You know why? You know why? I'll tell you why, because there's no money in it. There's no money in that problem. Nobody stands to get rich off of that problem. You find a solution to homelessness where the businessmen and the politicians can steal a couple of $1 million each, you'll see the streets of America begin to clear up pretty fast. I'll give you...
Here's what it says. Hello. I have a message I'd like to give to the congressman or congresswoman, whichever. My family and I, along with millions of other true, moral, Christian, conservative voters, have had it with your inactivity and lies. Therefore, I want to make my position extremely clear. Do not allow the special counsel, Robert Mueller, to come before you in the House with this obvious witch hunt designed to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to impeach President Trump. We have waited patiently for years on you, the Republicans, to deliver on the pledges that you have made to get our votes. Now, I find myself knowing, I realize that you are no better for this nation than the Democrats. When we finally, with great resistance from you and your party, elected a president that is not from your elitist organization, you and all the others are now trying to get rid of him. Have no doubt, Congressman, that if you allow an obvious political strategy to remove President Trump from his rightful position, I, my family, my friends, and anyone and everyone I can talk to will do everything in our power to see to it that you never get elected to political office ever again. I know you may think that we, the people, would not dare to follow through with such a pledge because that would lead to your being replaced by a Democrat. Well, be assured, you know that I would be assured that I would rather have a Democrat in office. At least I will know where he or she stands instead of you who only cares about your job, not our jobs, or even this country. We are organized and we are serious. A man named Larry Nichols told me to call you and to say these exact words. He also asked me to tell you that if you don't believe Larry Nichols and our group will work night and day to defeat you, you need only to dial 1-800-BILL-CLINTON and find out from him if Larry Nichols and our group will do exactly what we say.
It's already too late. Or at least 58 people in Las Vegas and hundreds of others who were wounded. We should not wait another day. We need to pass common sense, gun safety legislation so that we can hold a moment of silence for the NRA's stranglehold on American politics. We must make NRA stand for not relevant anymore in American politics in our country. That should be our agenda here on the floor of the United States Senate. What is wrong is leaving Americans and our communities unprotected, yet again, from gun violence. What is wrong is not having a debate and allowing the NRA to block sensible gun safety legislation. We must act so that we do not become numb to the preventable carnage for the people of Las Vegas, the people of Newtown, Aurora, San Bernardino, and every community in our country.